This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Batman Universe Comics Podcast, Season 14, Episode 10. I'm your host, Ian, and I have with me...
This is Steph. What a day.
This is indeed Steph. I am tripping all over my tongue. Hopefully I'll get a hold of that, because we've got a lot to get through today. A ton of news, because Solicit's dropped, and also 4 individual comic reviews, because we're reviewing all of the Shadow War books, including the Warzone tie-in, and Detective Comics. So 4 books plus all the news. So let's get right into it. Starting with solicitations, we have some news that Joshua Williamson is leaving not just Batman and Deathstroke Inc. He is also leaving Robin in August with number 17. I was really hoping that leaving Batman and Deathstroke would be okay, and he would be okay just writing Robin, but apparently he is also leaving Robin to focus on other projects, even though I assume Dark Crisis will be mostly done by that point in terms of the writing. But I could be wrong, and he could be doing a lot of Architects, because I know there's a lot of tie-ins that are coming out, so he could be coordinating with those. But I am very sad because I have loved Robin.
Do you know who's taking over?
So that's a later news item. Okay. But I have some thoughts. They haven't directly said it, but I have some thoughts based on another announcement. There's a really adorable anthology listed called Saved by the Bell Rev, and it's a bunch of school theme stories. So there's a Gotham Academy story. There's a Super Sons story. Woohoo! There is an Azrael in training story. There's, I think it's a Black Lightning story. There's just a bunch, and there's, of course, a Suicide Squad, so the Bell Rev thing. But, It looks really funny and cute, and I'm very excited for it.
It does look fun.
Harley Quinn is getting a 5-week weekly event in August. So 4 individual issues plus an annual on the 5th week, and it's all one story called Task Force XX, or XX. There is a teaser for this in Shadow Warzone, so we'll talk a little bit about that then. But it looks wacky. I do not envy the Harley Quinn reviewer that month. But that's coming up.
At least Luke Fox is in it. We know where he is.
Yes, I am actually really excited about that because I love Luke Fox and I feel he's gotten shafted in the last 2 years. There really isn't a whole lot of stuff aside from a couple of individual announcements. It feels to me like August is kind of... We made a bunch of big announcements in June and July. August is just going to keep going with the stuff. They're not going to try and pour a bunch of energy in new stuff. So we might get some new stuff in September, October, but August is kind of moving along, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one of the big announcements that is very Batman focused is called One Bad Day. And they're doing a series of 8 one-shots. And these are, they aren't just... annual size. They say they're 64 page. So these are almost graphic novel sized.
Oh my gosh.
These are all A-list talent. Well, okay, there's a couple that I would question their A-list, but most of them are A-list talent. And they're going to be once a month. We may or may not decide to cover these as main reviews on the cast because we are going down to a lot less material in July. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. The first one is going to be Riddler by Tom King and Mitch Gerads, and that starts in August. In September, we have Two-Face by Marco Tamaki and Javier Fernandez. October, we're going to get The Penguin by John Ridley and Giuseppe Camuncoli. In November, we'll get Mr. Freeze by Jerry Duggan and Matteo Scalera. And Jerry Duggan is known for doing X-Men all over at Marvel, so I guess maybe he's A-list now, but he definitely wasn't A-list when he was at DC last time, which was in 2014. Matteo Scalera is an A-list artist. He did that great Harley Quinn spin-off series from White Knight by Sean Murphy. I really liked that miniseries, and his art was gorgeous, so this will definitely look great. In December, we'll have Catwoman by G. Willow Wilson and Jamie McKelvey. Definitely an A-list team there. Josh Williamson is going to do Bane in January with Howard Porter, so unfortunately that's going to look like butt. And then in February, we're going to have Clayface by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing. I would say that's more of a B-list writing team, but Zermanico is definitely great art. And lastly, in March, Tom Taylor is doing Ra's al Ghul with Ivan Reis on art. So again, another A-list team. So, Steph, which of these are you most excited for or interested in?
Interested in. I think I'd be interested in the Riddler one just because, one, we don't get a lot of interesting Riddler. And two, I think Tom King might make an interesting Riddler. We'll see. I don't know. And then Mitch Gerard's would be very interesting art. Definitely interested in the Mariko Tamaki one. I as well am so good with the words. And then the Catwoman one, of course. So I would say those three. I'm pretty basic.
Yeah, I think those three are also the ones I'd be most interested in. Just my experience with the teams and the characters.
I'm interested to see what Tom Taylor is going to do with Roz. I don't know if I would call that feeling excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone who listens to the cast knows my feelings about that particular team, but I shall approach it with as open a mind as I can give it. We also have the announcement of sort of a standalone album. It's a 56-page, they call it graphic novella, called Dear Detective. And it is written and illustrated by Lee Bermejo, and is actually a collection of his covers that he's been doing for Detective Comics and some other titles. And he says he's sort of given them a narrative. So basically it's going to be covers with text boxes. And I am super unexcited about this because I have not really enjoyed most of his covers. They're definitely very artistically beautiful, but it's not really my taste, and I don't like the way he draws Batman. Sort of like a military dude with a bat thing. It's almost certainly not in continuity, and it definitely won't have an impact on anything else that's happening. Unless Brian Azzarello starts writing something. There was an announcement, interestingly, for September. So as I said, Robin is ending at 17 in August. Well, okay, Joshua Williamson is leaving Robin at 17 in August. We don't know if the title is ending, but we do know that Mark Waid is going to be doing a comic called Batman vs. Robin, drawn by Mahmoud Asrar, who is primarily a Marvel talent. He was just doing Eternals recently with Kieran Gillen. So he's coming over to DC with Waid. It's going to be a 5-issue oversized, so my guess is either like 38 or, probably between 26 and 38 pages. And it's going to be present day, because the World's Finest is actually in the past when Dick was Robin. So this is present day with Damian, and Waid says there's going to be a lot of magic involved. So not a lot of the more typical Gotham threats. It's going to be more magical. We'll have to see. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. I don't know. How do you feel about this? Do you think Waid is a good replacement for Williamson on Robin, even if it's not the Robin title?
I don't think I know enough about Waid to answer that one. But I do know that I see Talia and Zatanna on the cover. It's fine. It's fine. Sure, Batman vs. Robin, it's my favorite. That is a lie. It's not my favorite. I was hoping that Shadow War would at least put a Band-Aid on that. I don't know.
Doesn't look like it, unfortunately.
Maybe it's a Band-Aid on a festering wound. I don't know.
Although Alfred's on this, so...
He is.
What is going on with it? I don't know what's going on.
And Flatline is there, so that's,
And Flatline. So clearly it's got one foot in today. Maybe Alfred's from flashbacks. Maybe this actually is the resurrection storyline that was sort of, we thought was ended already.
Yeah.
I would not be mad if they resurrected Alfred, because I've been wanting him back since he died.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, as I said, we don't know if this is replacing Robin or if Robin's going to continue or if Robin's going to, go on pause for 5 months and then come back. We don't have any idea. But it does seem like this might be the next story for Damian Wayne. And Robin may not be part of it as a title. It may go into this miniseries instead. Lastly, kind of a silly, fluffy one, DC announced a swimsuit variant program. So I think 8 titles are getting swimsuit variant covers. Several of them, of course, are Batman Universe. We've got Action Comics by Art Germ, Batman by Mikel Janin, World's Finest by Rafa Sandoval, Black Adam by Emanuela Lupacchino, Catwoman by Jeff Dekal, who's doing the main covers too, but he's also doing the swimsuit variant. Deathstroke Inc. by David Lapham, Harley Quinn by Megan Huang, Nightwing by Nicholas Scott, Nubia by Derek Chu, and Poison Ivy by Joel Jones. So, just as a fun thing, which of these covers are you most excited for? And are there any you would not like to add to your collection?
The Poison Ivy one is really pretty.
Joel Jones.
Her hair is just so voluptuous, and I'm not normally a Poison Ivy girl. The Nightwing one is ridiculous. Yeah, that. I have no words for that one. The Catwoman one is hot. Which one's the one with the super pets? The World's Finest. That one's cute. The World's Finest one is really cute. I like that one mainly because it looks like Little John. It's ambiguous enough. It could be Little John, but who knows? Maybe it's.
I mean, it's a swimsuit variant, so it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. I wish I liked the Batman one. The cowl is so weird.
I think it's funny. I think it has a sense of humor.
It does have a sense of humor.
And Catwoman looks so fun in the background.
She looks like she's having a fun old time. So I'd say I like about half of them.
I think that the Supergirl one on Action Comics is definitely my favorite for obvious reasons. DC is definitely pandering there. I do really like the Catwoman one too. I don't like the Deathstroke or Black Adam ones. They have a sense of humor, but I don't know. Anyway, so just a fun thing. If you like swimsuit covers, let us know which ones you want. All right, that finishes up our news. Quite a bit today, but we're going to get into our reviews, starting with Shadow Warzone. All right, story 1, Old Friends by Josh Williamson and Otto Schmidt. This focuses on Black Canary and Angelbreaker. Oracle calms Black Canary, who's riding on her bike, warning her that Talia's Demon's Fist are hunting Deathstroke's associates, including her. Angelbreaker stands in Dinah's path, asking for Canary to join Talia's forces against Deathstroke. They battle brutally, Canary Cry versus energy-absorbing sword, but Angelbreaker is called away to Nepal, which we'll see in Shadow War Omega, and Dinah asks Oracle for a ride, since their fight destroyed her bike. What do we learn about Angelbreaker here, other than that she still doesn't like to wear shirts?
She has a sword that is useful.
She has some kind of training history with Black Canary.
Yeah.
But
okay, hold on. But I have to back up. Why are they chasing Dinah?
Because she was working with Deathstroke as part of Deathstroke Inc. as an organization.
But, the only person after her seems to know that she's not a friend and is asking her to help her instead.
So what I think you're pointing out here is that the story has a crummy premise and doesn't make sense.
Okay. Good. All right.
That is my take on this story because I'm very peeved. When they gave us a variant cover with Angelbreaker, I assumed, wrongly, that this was going to give us a little origin story, similar to Punchline in the Joker 100-page anniversary special. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is not an origin.
No.
I would like an origin much better than this, because this story was dumb as heck. It had very pretty art, but...
Very pretty art.
So yeah, definitely not a great story to start with, except for the art.
And, so even if Dinah shows up in the last issue or whatever to do whatever, I don't even know. This is not necessary.
No, it is not.
You could just tell us Dinah's on her way. She said she'd help. Like, I'd be fine with that. Ugh, anyway.
This is a wasted opportunity. If they'd done an origin story, I think it would have been cool. You know? I don't know. Maybe you don't think... What do you think? If this had just been a straight origin story, would you have been more interested in what we got?
Slightly.
Slightly? Okay. Fair.
Because, I mean, an origin story can give you... I don't want to make this too long, but a lot of the origin stories we've gotten if they haven't added to the story, they've made the character more complex. Like the Peacekeeper one backstory that I was not looking forward to, and it very quickly became one of my favorite issues of the year. What's her name? Molly, the Miracle Molly one was so interesting. And even though within the story it didn't add too much, I felt more connected to her. I liked her better. I understood her better. This is garbage.
It is.
This was pointless. This confused me more than it gave me information.
Yeah. I think for all that people complain about all the original characters, the new characters that James Tynion created during his Batman run, he put so much of his heart and soul into giving them unique backstories. Yes, Deathstroke, they kind of poke fun at this. Ghostmaker is a Deathstroke sort of clone. He's like a weird cross between Deathstroke and Batman. Clown Hunter is very similar to Jason Todd. Miracle Molly is a tech version of Catwoman from Batman Returns. So it's not that these are original, but James Tynion poured his heart and soul into connecting us to these characters. He didn't just put them there, give them a cool costume, and then say, like them. He gave us reasons to like them because of their history and their experience and their connection to other characters. We still don't have real connections between Angel Breaker and anyone, even though Josh Williamson is hinting at them. Don't hint. You got to show us. Don't tell, show. You know? Very basic, but I think I was talking on the Discord that Williamson has a tendency to tell, not show. All right. Moving on. Inner Demons. This is by Nadia Shamus and drawn by Sweeney Boo. And this focuses on Talia. A flashback of Talia remembering her life with her father, whom she calls Baba, and how he controlled her. Tired of her life, she leaps from a cliff into the water in an act of self-destruction and rebellion, but is scolded by Roz when she heals and awakens. Under lockdown, she rebels again and runs to her grandmother on Lazarus Island, where Mother Soul tells her that Roz baptized her in the pit as a baby to save her life. That night, Talia looks into the pit and sees a demon. Her grandmother warns her mysteriously and sends her back to Roz. Okay, what is the point of this story?
Oh no, and it says end. Like, if it was a to be continued or something, I feel like I'd have some hope for this story, because it's not, in and of itself, this was actually not horrible.
No, it's not horrible, but how does it tie into Shadow War?
It doesn't at all. Like, all it does is tell us that Talia may have had a slightly better relationship with Mother Soul than Roz did at the end, and that is not in any way helpful or productive for Shadow War.
Yeah, and the thing is, so much of this is driven by Josh Williamson, and he's basically leaving Gotham. He's not doing any of these titles anymore, so none of these threads are probably going to get picked up, you know?
The art was very interesting.
I'm a big fan of Sweeney Boo. I think she's a fun artist.
The story was...
It also doesn't feel like how they've really written Talia and Roz before.
Yeah.
Like the whole Baba thing, I get that they're trying to give it more cultural texture, but I don't know, it felt clumsy.
There was one not too long ago. The whole point of it was that, like, Talia was nothing to Roz, and she was just like, I don't remember what it was, but it was a short story about how, like, Talia didn't mean much to Roz, and she
was that in the villains thing.
Maybe, I don't remember.
I don't really remember what happened to the villains thing, but I remember there was a Roz story.
Yeah, it was about how she had to be independent because Roz was basically an absent father, whereas here it's like, no, he was overbearing and I loved him, but I wanted to get away. It's like, I don't understand what you're doing with this character. Anyway, not a fan.
I'm making a note to myself. I need to go check out that villain special, see if any of its promises have come true. Probably not. All right, story 3, Panic Room by Ed Brisson, illustrated by Mike Bowden. This is a Ghost Maker and Clown Hunter story. The two protect Black Spider, one of Deathstroke's secret society villains, from Talia's ninjas. And Ghostmaker traps his apprentice with Black Spider in a panic room with 6 ninjas as a training exercise. Clown Hunter gets 5 of the 6, and Ghostmaker pops in to kill the last one, then leaves the 2 to clean up.
I actually, again, in and of itself, didn't hate this one. I actually kind of like this one, except for who's Spider? Why are they running?
Spider is one of Deathstroke's villains. They're running because Talia's fist is chasing Deathstroke's villains.
Okay, so later on when they are protecting all of them, I just didn't notice him, so I thought that was strange. So I guess they just leave him here in the panic room to
Maybe
hang
he's still
out.
cleaning.
He's still there. So
mopping away.
I didn't like that I couldn't, even though I understand what Bao and Ghostmaker are doing, and they're kind of doing the same thing in every issue, there's no connection. Like, they do this guy, and then they leave him, and he has nothing to do with the rest of the story, and the next time you see him, they're with the other guys. And, I don't know. I didn't like the disconnectedness from the rest of the story, but I still like that at least they were doing something similar to what they were doing in the rest of the issues before and after, and it's focused on their relationship. So I did appreciate that. And again, the art was very good.
I actually thought the art was butt. I thought the story was pointless, and I am not favorably inclined towards it. Lastly,
well, at least one of us liked it.
Well, that's good. I mean, I like the idea. I just think that it didn't do anything I found interesting. I mean, we'll see when we get to the Batman Annual, which I have some trepidation about because I have had a lot of problems with Ed Brisson before. But we'll see. Last story, 4th story, Ninjas at the Arcade, written by Stephanie Phillips, drawn by Ann Molina. Harley Quinn runs from ninjas because of her short stint with Deathstroke's League of Villains, to which we see a brief flashback, leading them to an empty arcade where she takes them out, often distracted or quoting movies. Luke Fox and Lashina the Female Fury observe her remotely, planning to recruit her for a secret mission. Does this story make you more, less, or not at all interested in the 5-week event in August?
Mildly. I don't like that they made us read this as a Shadow War story, because the fact that she was part of the Villains League for 5 minutes years ago, like how much time did they spend finding Deathstrokes? Finding his associates. Like, what is their definition of associate? Like, are they going to kill the pizza guy that delivered a pizza to him the other day because he spent 5 minutes together? Like, come on. It's a little ridiculous. So I'm not a fan of them forcing, and the same with Canary. Like, just chill. Go kill someone who's wearing a half color suit and just kill those people. It's fine. Don't kill it. I guess Harley's wearing a half color suit. Okay, that's fair. But no, I mean, I'm excited to see Luke. I was interested in whatever her name is, Lashina. I had to look her up, but that was cool. But the fact that you made me read a crappy Shadow War story to try to get me excited for an upcoming event makes me upset.
Yeah, they don't currently have space for it, but I think this would have been better as a backup.
Yeah.
Or even like one of the one-shot urban legends. It's certainly not worse than many of the other urban legends we've had to read. I don't know. Do you have a favorite or least hated story of these 4?
My least hated is the Bao one, just because I get to see Bao interact and see him training to become a semblance of a hero. Fair.
Yeah, I don't have one. I hated them all. This was a real disappointment for me. Yeah. There was a lot of good art. I did like Otto Schmidt in the first story. I liked Sweeney Boo in the second story. And I didn't mind the Harley Quinn art. I did not like the art in the Clown Hunter and Ghostmaker one, though. So I guess that means that's my least favorite, because I don't care about the writing any more or less. and the art was the worst for me. So, but that's not because I think that it's a bad idea. I'm frustrated with this. Let us rate this out of 5 ninjas, because there's ninjas in every story.
2. 2 ninjas.
Do I want to go lower? No, I think the art gives it a star. So I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 as well, which means it is an average of 2 and a mode of 2. So 2. That's definitely not a recommend, though, which is a shame, because Joker Warzone had some good stories.
No, it literally does nothing to help, at least the preceding and, or I guess, the preceding and the succeeding, the following issues. What's next?
Next, we have Deathstroke Inc. number 9.
Deathstroke Inc. number 9, Shadow War Part 6. Written by Joshua Williamson, art by Paolo Pantalina. The crime doctor pronounces Respawn dead, and Ravager has to save the doctor's life from a distraught and violent Deathstroke before he flees. Deathstroke asks Rose again to join him in killing Talia. Batman faces the false Deathstroke beside Robin in the underground lair of Gamby, the costume creator, before false Deathstroke runs, followed by a mysterious cave-in and a huge tunnel, like the ones seen at Roz's assassination site. Deathstroke tracks down his secret society gang, hiding under the protection of Ghostmaker and Batman Inc., and after a brief fight between Ghostmaker and Deathstroke, Slade holds Clown Hunter hostage to escape with his gang, flying straight into Talia's fortress in Nepal.
So, how do you feel about Paolo Pantalina's art in Deathstroke?
I would say of the 3 so far, right? 2? I don't even remember. This one's the least offensive. But Bao, who is, 14? Bao looks like a chain-smoking 60-year-old. It's awful. Absolutely awful. How hard is it to draw a teenager? I don't understand.
Well, to be fair, that is actually a problem that anyone who's drawn a Robin has had to deal with. A lot of people make Robins look very old and muscular.
Yeah. But I think there's a difference between 14 and 60. Just saying. But not a fan of the art.
Yeah, to me, it clearly looks like it's still trying to imitate Howard Porter's style, and as someone who's not a fan of Howard Porter's style, that really seems like a major mistake. I understand that Josh Williamson likes Howard Porter because he worked with him on Flash, and that Howard Porter is a big name. I'm not digging it. I am not. Do you like the way that Williamson weaves the 3 plot lines of Deathstroke, Batman and Robin, and Talia?
Yeah. I mean, it's all... Because now, I don't know. Because it's spoiler for later, but eventually they're all going to be like, well, I know that you didn't really kill my dad, and I know... They're just all pissed off for no reason. And now Deathstroke really is mad, and I don't know. I think the whole thing's fairly convoluted, and the end is going to be a different kind of convoluted than the beginning was. I don't know. I don't like people who are emotionally angry and create world wars because of their anger.
Yeah. I think perhaps part of the problem is that the motives of the person behind this are hidden until the Omega issue.
Yeah.
So that's because Williamson wanted to structure this like a mystery. I think that might have been a mistake. I think maybe he should have had the person behind it all be a main character, and we saw their motivations and their reasoning at the beginning. And so it would be more like a war story, because this is called a Shadow War. So structuring it like a mystery is a little... I think that's a bit of a mistake. I think if you structure it like a war story where you show both sides,
yeah,
I think that would have been more emotionally investing.
Like, I like when I can't tell you right off the bat who I am rooting for or whose side I sympathize with. Well, like, having both sides have like legitimate reasons for fighting is significantly more interesting than, you hurt my feelings, you killed my dad, I'm gonna kill you, I didn't kill your dad, oh no, who's this mystery person? Yeah.
And I think next episode, when we review the Omega issue, we may feel like there are better reasons. But like right now, all we have is a bunch of like manipulation and kind of cliched grudges against each other.
And bunches of characters that are not developed.
Well, I think you're supposed to like already like them, which is not something I personally approve of in storytelling, but it's definitely something a lot of people do. Do you like the touch of Deathstroke using Clown Hunter, a child, to achieve his plan? I mean, because Deathstroke was created for the Teen Titans, and he's constantly fighting children, even though he's supposed to be the greatest assassin in the world. So him using Clown Hunter, a child, I think is a consistent note with his past characterization.
I think it's a little weird after he just lost Respawn, which, by the way, they do discuss how that's a silly name because he doesn't have regenerative powers. Oh my gosh, no. Oh, so bad. But anyway, so I don't know. Maybe that's in character with him. He's angry. He's going to take your kid when they took his, even though that wasn't related to Batman or Ghostmaker at all. But whatever. I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question. I thought it was silly.
It's extremely silly. But okay. I think that it's one of the better things that Williamson has done in terms of character consistency with the history.
Well, that's good. Still silly.
Do you think that Deathstroke's pain and anger at Respawn's death rings true?
Probably. I mean, he does mention, and again, so I'm going off of not having read Deathstroke and not knowing the history too much, but it sounds like he did just lose another kid.
Well, that was like 5 or 6 years ago, so it's not
still though. Still, a child is the loss of a child is a huge deal. It changes your whole life, and yes, obviously, Respawn wasn't a replacement at all for his son. It's a chance to redeem yourself, I think, and he's now lost that. So I think yes, his anger and sadness, I think, are justified. It's silly that they introduced this character just to kill him off. I'm a little upset about that. Because,
yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
It's just child, and even Damien was excited about it, and I'm like, could have had him be like an evil John replacement. I don't know, but why did you have to do that?
Yeah, it feels kind of shallow and a bit manipulative, but again, it's a little consistent with Deathstroke's character. I don't know, it just seems really obvious to me in terms of motivation. Alright, so let's give Deathstroke, number 9, a rating out of 5 star-eyed sunglasses.
Star-eyed sunglasses. 3. Given that I hate the premise of the war, this was actually a pretty solid issue, and the art is better than it has been. And I say that knowing that the Bow really is my only complaint. I didn't despise the rest of the book, just Bow's look. Yeah, so I will say 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say 3 too, because I think that it's respectful the way that Williamson has tried to focus each chapter of the story on the title character. So Deathstroke is kind of the main character of this chapter, even though it also has a bunch of the other characters having their storylines. But it is a Deathstroke Inc. story. So I think that's good craftsmanship on Williamson's part. Again, we agree, so there's no variation. It's just a 3. All right. Let us move on to Robin, number 14.
Robin, number 14, Shadow War, Part 7. Written by Joshua Williams, art by Roger Cruz. Ghostmaker debriefs Batman on Deathstroke's escape with his gang, and Robin leads them all to Nepal. Deathstroke and Talia face off as their forces battle around them. Aboard the Ghost Stream, Batman tells Damien he won't join them in the final battle, and that he doesn't blame his son for Alfred's death, but Robin jumps out of the plane without a glider, Batman following in panic to save his son. Ghostmaker, promising Batman not to kill, faces off against Angelbreaker, while Batman and Robin hunt for Deathstroke and Talia. They find Ravager, who tells Damien of Respawn's death, then find Talia, who has killed Deathstroke after a truly brutal fight. The fake Deathstroke arrives, disappointed that Talia isn't dead too, and rips off his disguise to reveal the vengeful Prince of Markovia, Geoforce, swearing to kill Talia and anyone who gets in his way. So Deathstroke's not really dead, right? Is that one of your questions?
He is supposed to be really dead. That is one of my questions. Why don't we get started with that?
Okay.
How does Deathstroke, who has basically Wolverine powers, die from a slash in the stomach?
He is so sad that he wanted to die.
I'm just going to say this was not well thought through. How do you feel about the conspirators' reveal? Was it a surprise, or did it feel too obvious, or were you frustrated because you're a fan of Geoforce?
Well, I didn't. So I know very little about Geoforce. I haven't. The only thing I know him from, and I haven't even watched it yet, is the third or fourth season.
Third
season of.
I mean, it might be in fourth, but I haven't watched
Young
any
Justice.
of four.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen 3 yet either.
I did see 3, and he is a main character in that.
But he's not a baddie, right?
He's very morally ambiguous.
He's very morally ambiguous. Well, anyway, I don't know anything about him. Kind of looks like Wally West, but anyway, I don't know anything about him. I don't. Suddenly, this reveal of character who's very sad, and I'm supposed to sympathize, or maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell because suddenly he's just there, and I'm supposed to have feelings. I guess I don't know what feelings I'm supposed to have. I'm confused about what I'm supposed to be feeling at the end.
Well, something I can tell you now is that Geoforce is Terra's older brother, and Deathstroke really screwed
Terra?
over Terra. Terra was a Teen Titan. She had, like Geoforce, she has basically ground-bending, earth-bending powers, and she was like a 15, 16-year-old, and she was having an affair with Deathstroke at the time.
Oh, yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
So everyone in Markovia basically hates Deathstroke for what he did to a member of the royal family.
But see, that's too much. If you're gonna do a stupid backstory, then do that. Or, I don't know, re-release the story about, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, I agree. I really think that trying to structure this as a mystery was a mistake. I think it would have been better as a war story.
Yeah.
Where everyone's motives are explained at the beginning, and then it's just a matter of strategy and battles, rather than, well, who really did it? What's the mystery?
Yeah.
I will say, I feel I'm kind of patting myself on the back because I predicted this. I can't remember if I did it on the cast, but I definitely predicted it in the chat with my co-hosts because of the whole holes in the ground, because someone clearly has earthbending powers. And then when Damien talks about how the villain has an accent, I'm like, well, a Markovian accent would make sense.
That was in this issue, wasn't it?
No, that was the previous issue.
Oh.
In the Deathstroke issue.
Oh, right.
So I'm kind of pleased with myself for that, but I still think that Steph is absolutely right. For this to really have an emotional impact, it would have been better if it had been told like a war story with everyone's motives at front, and then it's a story of strategy rather than a story of who did it? Who's the guy behind the Scooby-Doo mask? Why does Talia change her costume again? I like her snazzy white threads. Why does she need these weird green and gold ones?
I have no opinion on that. I don't care. She's a woman. We like to have different outfits.
But
Ravager needs to change her outfit.
No, Ravager just has one outfit.
She needs more. She needs a glitter one.
Well, in the Deathstroke series by Christopher Priest, she doesn't just have another outfit. She has a whole nother personality she puts on, so that's fun. Do you agree with Deathstroke that Talia always seems to be defined by the men in her life? Her father, her lover Batman, and her son Damian.
I feel like that's something to be argued for. Sure.
I do think that is a problem in Talia's character.
Yeah, who is Talia if she's not Batman's beloved or Damian's mom, or she doesn't have her own thing.
Well, the one time she did have her own thing.
Oh, except there's Leviathan.
Yeah, was Leviathan in Batman Inc., and it sucked. Roz at least has some motivation in his League of Shadows. He wants to kill half of human life so there's more resources and stuff. That's evil, but you can sort of understand what's going on with that. Leviathan was just, I want to destroy the world because reasons, and it was stupid as heck. Now, we could go into meta stuff, and Grant Morrison was talking about the Morrison mother who divorced the Morrison father, and there's all this psychodrama that Morrison was talking about with Talia and Batman and Damian, but it was stupid as heck. Do you like Angel Breaker's connection to Talia, a Black Canary, and Ghostmaker?
What is it?
So she trained with or was trained by Canary.
Canary, yeah.
She owes a favor to Talia, and she seems to have had an affair with Ghostmaker.
Oh, that's right.
Because she calls him Koa Bear.
I think it's a sad attempt to make her more part of the universe, but
it's all telling. It's not showing.
It's all telling. Yeah, like, let me see. Ugh,
let's have a love scene between Koa Bear and Angel Breaker.
No, it's fine. It's great. Maybe I'll like her more. I don't know. It's just.
It's not like you'll see more of her. She never wears shirts.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, I like the idea.
It's not interesting.
I like the idea of what they're doing, but like the execution is absolutely boring.
Yeah.
Heck, you could have done the love affair between Ghostmaker and Angel Breaker as the 10-page short story. Like,
that'd have been so much more interesting.
So much more interesting than yet another fight between a character. We don't know why they're fighting. We don't know why they know each other. It's like, come on, let's do some flashbacks, do some origin story, do something that makes us connect to the character. Don't just be like, oh, we knew each other in the past. Isn't that weird? Let's fight some more. No. All right, lastly, where do you think this story will end?
Oh, gosh.
Or do you even care?
I don't care.
All right. I feel like,
okay.
I'm not mad, but I'm just kind of tired.
Yeah. No, I'd say that's fair. Like, I feel like parts of this were very well executed. I think parts of this were I think most of it was very well written.
Yeah.
But the execution was not fantastic. Like, the story structure was not fantastic. And I feel like if you wanted me to care about these people and their relationships, then that's where the focus should have been.
And if you look at Williamson writing Robin, he did take that time to connect us to the characters. Yes. There were tons of fights. Don't get me wrong, tons and tons of fights. But he also took time to connect us to Damien's inner struggle.
There was a whole extra issue on like backstories and origins.
And, there was the whole issue where he just sort of chills out with Grandpa Roz on the island.
Yes!
There was character stuff. And this had the potential to do character stuff, and it just didn't. And I understand it's an event and a crossover, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been better if, that whole 4-issue arc that Williamson did about Batman Inc. had actually been about, Angel Breaker and Talia and actually set up. I mean, that's basically what James Tynion did. He spent that whole 6 issues before Fear State developing Miracle Molly, developing Batman's relationship with Ghostmaker. So actually, when it came time to do Fear State, we knew these characters. We were much more connected to them. I don't know. All right. Let's give this a rating out of 5 Bat Gliders.
Oh, it pains me to give a low rating to a Robin book. Just FYI, this is not something I want to do. But I might say 2.5.
I'm actually going to give this a 3.5 because I enjoyed it better than the Deathstroke issue, and I also am kind of patting myself on the back for knowing it was Geoforce. And so, I think that in itself is kind of like, he set up a mystery. I feel like I followed the clues and figured it out.
Well, hold on then. I want to change mine to a 3 because I did forget, and one thing we didn't talk about was that Batman is, again, trying to mend bridges.
Yes, that was a nice thing.
Yes, he's going back to the horrible thing he said and admitting it was horrible. That is not what I meant. I was trying to take the blame, not
put it on you.
Yeah. So I did appreciate that. So I'll give it a 3.
Okay, well that gives us a 3.25 total, and there's no mode, so I'm very sad. But it's honest ratings from both of us. So.
Whether you are a first-time TBU Comics podcast listener, a 13-year veteran, or anything in between, we'd love to hear what you think about this episode or any of the comics we discussed. Send emails to tbu@thebatmanuniverse.net. Join our Discord server linked at thebatmanuniverse.net. Send us a tweet at TBU_comics. Or, if you're a patron, leave us a comment on our Patreon page. We'd also love it if you left us a review on iTunes. We'd love to read your comments on the next episode of the Batman Universe Comics Podcast. Batman may claim he works alone, but we know that he needs the Bat Family. Join the TBU Bat Family and let us know what you think.
All right, and we're going to round out our reviews with Detective Comics 1060, and this is not connected to Shadow War. This is the second of the 3 parts of the Riddler story by Marco Tamaki and Nadia Shamas, and it's illustrated by Yvonne Reis. The 7, Part 2. As Detective Comics 1060 begins, Bruce Wayne and Judge Caroline Donovan enjoy dinner at Trattoria Gotham, speaking about the antics of Deb Donovan, Caroline's mother. Bruce probes the judge to find more about the recent criminal activity in Gotham and why citizens with seemingly no past criminal records are committing atrocities only to admit their wrongs quickly. The judge, however, speaks about her own ambition for making a change in the city. She quickly learned that despite her actions to make a change, there is more injustice in the Gotham than there is justice. Bruce reminds her that even one change makes all the difference. Bruce walks the judge home, and as she closes her door, Batman goes to work. Riddler is broadcasting live again, speaking the citizen criminals of Gotham. As Batman looks over gathered evidence, trying to connect the dots and determine whether or not Caroline Donovan is involved, he gets a call from Batwoman. There's an SOS at the Gotham Gazette, and Deb Donovan is there alone. Batman wakes his way to the Gazette, where, after startling Deb half to death, he looks over the evidence that she gathered on John Harper, the man who gassed the bank in the last issue. As Deb leaves, Batman does a scan for evidence. He finds a hair. As he analyzes things back at the Batcave, Oracle calls and gives him more backstory, this time on a possible connection to the Donovan family. The analysis of the hair is complete. It belongs to Darby Turner. Batman knows where the next stop is. As he heads out, Caroline Donovan is walking home from work. She finds an envelope taped to her door as she walks up to her place. It has the number 6 on it. Talia al Ghul is reading when she realizes she's not alone. Batman is looking for the whereabouts of Darby Turner. Talia responds that she hasn't seen the suspect since she returned from out of town. However, she warns Batman that he needs to pay heed to what the Riddler is saying. All the messages he's been pushing are directed at Batman. Back at the Gazette, Deb is meeting with Ms. Smith, who claims to have information on the citizen criminals. They talk in private. Minutes later, calls come in of a hostage situation. Ms. Smith, who turns out to be Darby Turner, has Deb Donovan on the roof with a gun to her head. She claims to have the building rigged to blow if every member of the justice system doesn't air their secrets to the world. Batman arrives and disturbs Turner right as her boyfriend arrives. The boyfriend tells Batman that he will tell him everything about what's going on. Darby begs him not to say anything, but he tells her that he must, as the blackmailing will never stop. Darby finds her own way of making things stop by jumping from the roof. Batman jumps as well, catching Darby before she falls to her death. On the ground, Perry, Darby's boyfriend, runs out. As he begins to tell Batman everything, a shot is fired and he falls to the ground. The gunman, Caroline Donovan, points the gun at Batman. She doesn't want to kill him, but she will if she has to.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, first question. Theo mentions in his review on the site, which I encourage everyone to check out because it's very insightful, that it feels rushed. How do you feel about the pacing in this story? This is the second of 3 parts, so we're really almost at the end.
Yeah. Maybe a little. Maybe a little. It is weird that Caroline is being date questioned at the beginning and then committing murder by the end. That was a little intense. Maybe a little bit, but I still like Tamaki's pace of writing. Like, it doesn't feel rushed in the way other stories feel rushed, I guess is what I'm saying.
I felt that the first issue was more rushed because there was basically like 4 crimes in the first issue, and there's only like 1 real crime in this issue. I guess 2, because Caroline has the crime at the end. Mm-hmm. But 2 seems to fit a lot better than the 3 or 4 in the first issue. So I would say overall, I do get a sense of rushing, but this issue felt a little more well-paced to me, personally.
Yeah, I would agree.
What is going on with Talia? Why is she hanging out here?
Why is she here? Like, it makes Warzone even more stupid. And unless this happens before, I don't even know.
Although, how does that even work?
How does it even work? Why is she here? What? She literally does nothing. She just tells them, you should pay more attention to Riddler. And she knows Darby. Like, this could have been Selena. This could have been...
It could have been Oracle. It could have been
Oracle.
One of the Batgirls. It could have been...
Literally could have been a homeless person on the street.
Could have been Harley Quinn. She's been in the Batman family a lot recently.
I don't think... Is Darby Turner someone we're supposed to know? Hold on. Let's look this up real quick.
I don't recognize the name.
Darby Turner.
I think it might have been one of the criminals from last issue.
But she's not someone, like, we're expected to know.
She's certainly not someone with a long history.
No, she's nothing. And so it literally could have been just anyone. And so making Talia in here feels very editorial.
Yeah. I didn't hate it, but I'm just like, she really didn't do anything in this story.
She didn't do anything. So, and again, it kind of feels like maybe the story was a little rushed. Would it have to been rushed if you didn't have to dedicate a few pages to Batman finding Talia and talking to her?
What did you think about Ivan Reis's art in this issue?
It seemed very classic to me.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but it's not a cup of tea I would turn down.
I really liked it. I definitely really liked the art. It's not as like Dan Mora's art definitely grabbed me with this run, but Ivan Reis is just really, it feels like really polished craftsmanship, and it never feels weird or gross or frustrating. It's just really assured penciling that's very appealing and tells the story well. All right, let's move on to our backup story, Gotham Girl Interrupted, Part 2, by Sina Grace, illustrated by David Lapham. Claire Clover, Gotham Girl, calls the police to report her friend Andre's death. As the police question her, Dr. Chase Meridian and Dr. Rhea from Arkham Tower arrive and save Claire from further questioning. They don't know that Claire has Andre's laptop. As Claire tries to break through the laptop's encryption, gunmen attack her. Apparently, the Gotham Girl website has put out some damaging information on Paul Perlman, and he wants revenge. Claire, however, uses her powers to get control of the situation. She gives the gunmen an option: help with the laptop or go to the hospital. They're able to break into the computer, where they find some interesting material. The next day, Gotham Girl goes to Arkham Tower. She doesn't need help. She's just looking for a murderer. She makes her way to the top floor, to the office of Dr. Meridian. The murderer is not going to get away with it. So, does this chapter of the Gotham Girl Interrupted story, does it engage you more? Does it convince you that this is a story that needs to be told in Detective Comics?
Those are different questions. I don't know why this story is here. She wasn't created in Detective Comics. She isn't adding to the meat of the main story. And, I mean, other than she was in Arkham Tower, which was in Detective Comics, there isn't much connection here to anything.
I think that's really the connection, is trying to follow up on the Arkham Tower story.
On the Arkham Tower, okay. Well, in that case, fine. And yeah, I guess Chase is here as well. Now, as for being gripped and interested, the fact that she was able to gain control of the being attacked and then make the attackers work for her was hilarious. I loved that. I thought I've never seen that before in a show or in a thing, and I love it. We should do that more often, where you're actually able to negotiate and speak with your attackers and work together. If only that had worked in Batman and in Shadow War. That would have been so great. So I thought that scene alone made the entire thing worth it for me. I don't like that they're ending on a note making Chase seem like an evil person when she's been like a hero, a civilian hero, civilian aid.
I mean, Batman has told us he trusts Chase way
Yeah.
too often for us to think that she's going to go evil now.
Yes. So I didn't love that ending because obviously some kind of misunderstanding. But I'm curious to know why. I wouldn't say I'm too emotionally involved in the story, nor would I be hurt if it dropped off the face of the earth. But for what I'm getting, I'm not dreading reading this.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say that I don't hate the story. I do question why it's being told here rather than in Urban Legends. It seems like it might work better in Urban Legends.
Yeah, that'd be good. It'd be better than anything that's there right now.
Yes, for sure. It's way better than that awful Birds of Prey story. The one thing I kind of was hoping is that this would set Gotham Girl on like a new trajectory so that we would have an idea of what her status quo will be like after the story. And I don't feel like it's done that for us. Like, there's a lot of interesting ideas with the Gotham Girl website, but since that's set up by a character who is now dead, we know that's not going to be the status quo going forward. So, what is Gotham Girl going to do afterwards? I mean, well...
She does seem to be getting better. Like, she was full on attacked, and she was able to take control of that situation. I thought that was actually very cool for someone who's struggling as much as she is. So I feel like they are building her as getting stronger. But again, is that a story anyone cares about?
Right. All right, so let us give Detective Comics 1060 a rating out of 5 fake Riddler mustaches.
I'll say 3.5. I think it's a solid entry in the story. I don't think it's too rushed, and especially if she's having to finish this up quickly, it doesn't honestly feel like that too much to me. And I thought that as much as I don't understand why we're getting this story about Gotham Girl, it's still a solid story. It's still a good story.
I'm going to go with a 3 because I think it is a solid story, but it's not above average for me. Especially not after, to me, the pyrotechnics of Shadows of the Bat, which I thought was a really above average story. So that, and Theo over on the website gave it a 3 out of 5. Again, definitely recommend checking it out so you can get his perspective. A lot of good insight. That gives us an average of 3.17. And a mode of 3. So that is our review of Detective Comics 1060. Let's move on to Greater Gotham. Again, we're going to rate out of thumbs up, thumbs down, neutral, or abstain. Starting with Batman Beyond, The White Knight, number 3.
Oh, thumbs up. Oh, that book was so good. Thumbs up.
I think I'm going to give a thumbs up. I still am not a huge fan of Sean Murphy's writing. He also suffers a lot from tell, don't show, but he is also the artist, so he does a lot of showing that's not in the script that I think is good. Batman Fortress, number 1. The start. I just found out this is an 8-part series.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know about that.
I skipped through it. It just does not look like something I would enjoy, so abstain for me.
My big thing is this issue, and now I know that the story is going to progress from this, but this issue feels like exactly the same concept as One Dark Night by Jock. So, I'm going to give it a neutral, because I'm just like, I've literally just saw something like this very, very recently in the same Black Label format. Harley Quinn number 15.
A thumbs up, but I'm getting a little tired of this story. But it seems like it might be winding down soon. It was a fine entry. There was nothing wrong with it. Thumbs up.
I'm going to give it a neutral. I'm very concerned about this run going into a 5-issue weekly event. That seems like a lot. Task Force Z number 8.
I am torn on this one. Because story-wise, I don't care anymore. I want to give it a neutral. But all of the Bat people were there, and that was delightful. And they were all beating Jason up, which was really sad. And they were all mean to him. And he was mean to them. And there was way too much crowbars. Way too much crowbars. But I think I'm going to say thumbs up just out of pure stubbornness.
I'm going to say neutral. There's a lot of pros and negatives that you mentioned.
Yep.
But the fact that they left Stephanie out, even though they mentioned her, makes it a neutral. It's definitely not thumbs up.
Oh my goodness, you're so petty. Oh, that's so funny.
You know what?
I love it.
She's not appearing in too many things, so I'm gonna be petty and tell them how I feel.
Oh, that's so funny.
There is actually a Greater Gotham that we're gonna have next episode that I'm going to give a thumbs up for because Stephanie's in it. So,
don't tell me.
Batman Superman World's Finest number 3.
Let's see, what did I say? A thumbs up, but this is getting into territory where I start to glaze over. But Dan Mora's art is still so beautiful, and Dick Robin is so cute, and I'm determined to enjoy it, but it is getting dangerously close to neutral territory.
I'm not reading it. Abstain. It was too weird for me. The first issue was too weird for me. So
it got weirder.
That's not an endorsement for me. Batman the Knight number 5.
Thumbs up. Oh, it's so good.
Yes, absolutely thumbs up.
And I think you're right. I think I'm pretty sure that's Ghostmaker. And if it's not, it's
definitely Ghostmaker.
It's Ghostmaker Light.
It's definitely Ghostmaker. Chip Zdarsky is doing a really good job convincing me he's going to write a great Batman.
Yeah.
And Carmine Di Giandomenico.
Carmine Di Giandomenico.
I have loved his art for a long time, and it looks so cool.
It's so cool. This is giving me hope, because one thing we've been complaining about for Williamson is the lack of giving us any kind of meat or backstory or things to chew on or things to care about, and we're getting all of that in Dark Knight, whatever it's called.
The Knight. I just really hope that Zdarsky will work little pieces into his main run so that this all feels... That's one of my big things of loving, like when Chuck Dixon was writing, Detective Comics and Birds of Prey and Robin and Nightwing. All of them had like characters that went back and forth and, little pieces and themes and places they visited, so it all felt like one big world. I hope that Zdarsky does that same kind of interconnected feeling between his own work here. I hope he reaches back to his Cheers storyline with Jason, and then this backstory for Bruce, and then he puts it all into, his Batman run. Because I think that's really good craftsmanship. That's why you hire a writer to do more than one title. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, if he doesn't do that, Batman's getting thumbs down from me all the way. All right, Catwoman number 43.
Neutral. However, this Catwoman issue is kind of how I personally imagined the Batgirls book to be written. So if this had been a Batgirls issue, I probably would have given it a thumbs up. But it's not. It's a Catwoman issue.
You want Steph and Cass to be thinking sexually of each other, sleeping in the same bed?
That was cute. They were just friends.
She was thinking sexually of Harley, and it was very clear.
Listen, no, I meant the whole roller derby thing and the running away from the baddie and trying to figure things out. I just meant more of like, the feel I got it was more youthful and immature.
Well, rather
than Catwoman. So
Catwoman was copping a feel in bed. I was not pleased with that at all.
But anyway, I still am not getting Catwoman vibes from this issue.
I'm really torn. I actually had many thoughts in my review. I probably wouldn't be reading this if I didn't have to review it, but I am. So I do feel this is a slight improvement in many ways over the last many issues, but there's still... Catwoman just makes a lot of really dumb mistakes, like a dumb overlooking of things, and you could maybe justify that she's trying to get away from her troubles and she's focusing on Harley, so she's missing a lot of things, but that Batman wouldn't do that. So
one thing that bothered me was that the guy attacks her in the motel room, escapes through the window, breaks the window, and then they're just like, well, I guess it's bedtime. It's like, no, you're not going to go to a different hotel? You're not going to board up the window? He could just be sitting outside. You're not going to try to chase him? What?
Yeah, there's a distinct lack of thinking through what exactly the villain is thinking. And that's a common problem in comics and movies is like, you're just like, what makes a cool action scene? Don't think about what the villain's doing off screen. Don't think about whether it makes sense. Don't think about what the heroes would actually feel after this happened. Let's have Catwoman cop a feel from Harley in bed. It's great. So it's a thumbs down for me. This book still is terrible and I don't like it, but there were complex things going, so it's not quite as far a thumbs down. Lastly, Nightwing number 92.
Oh, thumbs up. I enjoyed the flashback. I enjoyed...
Is this the Flash one, or...
No, this is one where it starts in the past where Dick is not immature, but he's inexperienced and how he's come far away, and so now he is stronger and can take care of. So Flash is in it.
Is this the Superman crossover?
It's not a crossover. Superman is in it for like a few panels, doing the opening of what was it called? Haven. It's this little place that is supposed to be a haven for the underprivileged and encourage contributing to society, I think. And Blockbuster is like, I'm gonna burn it to the ground, and then Dick saves the city or whatever.
I'm wondering if I even read this issue. I think I had to abstain because I don't remember.
Because Flash is in it as he's just mentioned that he's doing security patrol. Oh, and Bruce shows up. That was cute. Bruce shows up with Titus, and they hang out with Dick and Barbara.
Yeah, I think I didn't read this, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay. I would be interested to see what you think of this one, because there was, I feel like, enough old school Dick in this one that
I think I was too angry about the Flash crossover, because I was really, really angry about that issue. I think that's why I didn't keep going on this. Also, like, Taylor introduced this sister of Dick's, and he hasn't touched it. And I know there was a crossover, but he could have gotten back to it by now, and he hasn't.
She's mentioned too, I think.
That is not getting back to it. That's mentioning it. So, I know that she's coming back from solicits, but I'm just not feeling this Nightwing. All right, that finishes up our Greater Gotham. Let's move on to listener feedback.
Sorry to interrupt, Master Bruce. Ringing your phone now.
This needs my attention.
Both of our comments this week are from the Discord. They're actually a little truncated, so apologies, but we had really great conversations with a lot of different people on the Discord. I really encourage people to join. We have, of course, a link on the BatmanUniverse.net, and you too can join and chime in with your comments, positive, negative. We take them all, we discuss them, we try and be respectful and take everything we can from them.
So Borvok said, my random thoughts and assertions aside, you guys put on a good cast as always. You even managed to keep it interesting with only one main book to cover. I just hope you guys aren't feeling pressured to put something out just because of the 2-week schedule. If you ever have to put off recording for a week or two for lack of material, I'm sure no one will be upset. But you guys are always fun to listen to regardless. Aw, thank you, Borvok.
Yes, I really appreciate that comment, and we are trying to figure out what we're going to do come July when everything drops down. August, we're in talks. If people have suggestions of what we should do when we just have one issue of Batman and one issue of Detective to cover, we're more than open to hearing them.
For sure. I'm advocating for covering all of Batcat, but that's just me.
Oh, like a retrospective, or
yeah, for the whole thing.
I would say we should do that in June when the last issue actually comes out.
Yes. Well, yeah, of course. Yes. Thank you. Yes. 197409. Wonder if that's his birthday.
Oh, password.
Password. It's a pin for all the stuff. Change your pin right now. Okay. He says, or she, I don't know. I've recently come across you guys and the podcast. Great companion to add to comic reading. I've gone back, but only Season 14. Started Batman comics just as Joker killed off Jason Todd, but a recent break somewhere in the timeline. So like Steph, I haven't read No Man's Land, but was around for Nightfall. Wasn't sure if it was this pod, but very much enjoyed Detective over Batman. I've always felt this way. The Abyss storyline was a real lowlight. Yeah, it was. Am enjoying the Deathstroke crossover, though. Great format to the pod. It's good to hear the news and then the deep dive into 2 main titles. I, too, gave up on urban legends, but I do quite like I Am Batman and Robin. Thanks, guys, for the pod. It's now in my rotation and encourages me to keep up to date with reading. I did a Google search and it came up in a list. Since it had comic in the title, I thought I'd give it a try first. I do enjoy the Theo rants. Yes, totally agree on his Tim Drake one recently.
Well, thank you. I'm always really excited when we get new listeners, and
Yay.
I'm also kind of glad that the whole season thing, because it used to be we just did episodes, and we do keep track of our legacy numbering, so we're at something like 380, but I think the season just allows people to feel like they can get in at any time. And then, of course, I got in, I want to say in 2014-ish. That's when I really started listening more regularly to the podcast, and I've gone back and listened to lots of stuff. So nothing, like, once you're done with the podcast for the week, you can, of course, go listen to the archives. So that's part of the great thing about what we're able to do because of our patrons who allow us to have our servers who can, host all those back content that you can listen to.
I will say, though, that Dustin started the podcast, our fearless leader, started the podcast right before the new 52.
Yeah.
And so for quite a long time, and they covered all the books. Like they didn't.
They were troopers.
They did. Like the podcast,
Every
the early
single
podcasts
book
are hours long, and they get so angry sometimes.
in my opinion, quite rightly, but
it's a hoot. But I listened to all of them, so I'm definitely an advocate of listening to them.
All right. So that brings us to the end of our podcast. I will now read our supporters. We have lots of different ways you can support us, from becoming a patron to using our PayPal link, or that's a one-time gift. We also have affiliate links through which you can buy things from Amazon, Lego, GameStop, all kinds of nerdy stuff, Fandango if you want to go see movies. So lots of affiliates, and it doesn't cost you anymore, but they get the website gets a little bit of income every time you make a purchase through their link. So we also read off the names of everyone who supports at a certain level or above every podcast. So thank you to Lisa Slack, Ian Miller, Gerald Green, Joshua Lappin-Bertoni, Rob O, Tim Garassi, Robert Lewis, Stephanie Mounts, Donovan Morgan Grant, Stanton's Grave, Donald Townsend, Ed Grouse, Captain America, Mary Garrett, Austin Davis, Johnny McCloskey, Cesar Diaz, Jessica Morales, and David Richards. Thank you all for again keeping our archives up, for allowing us to have all the reviews that we draw from and that we can refer to as reference material. Making this podcast is a real delight. I really enjoy the chance to talk to my co-hosts and to interact with you guys on the Discord server and wherever else you leave reviews. And of course, it allows me to, really keep up with what's going on Batman, and in a way that I wouldn't necessarily if I were just driven by my own impulses. So being able to have this history of going through Batman in this community is really great. And so I really thank all of our patrons who support us and all the people who listen. Until next time, I've been Ian.
This is Steph.
And
Theo should be back next week or next time.
Next episode. But
yep.
Everyone stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Hello, and welcome to the Batman Universe Wow.